Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Today we are looking at the latest team and injury news ahead of Game Week 6. This is in two parts, with part 2 covering Friday's press conference news tomorrow. Today is Thursday and we've got a few press conferences and the midweek Champions League developments to cover. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Neale. Neale, welcome. How are you?
Very good, Joe. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's got a deadline of FPL on a Friday, so that sort of moves everything forward a little bit. So everything's slightly busier than usual. But so let's get started with some news. So this is in two parts. We've got some Champions League news to cover. Chelsea's Mason Mount left the field against Valencia with an injury to his ankle. What is the latest there?
Well, nothing much since the last 24 hours. So he came off the field. He went down for about 5-10 minutes. Tried to play on. Came off after about 15 minutes or so after that midweek game against Valencia. Was seen walking through the mix zone afterwards without the aid of crutches or a protective boot. He told one reporter that he hopes to be fine, but how many times have we heard this from players before? I mean, we heard it with Emerson last week, so don't read too much into that. Now, yesterday there was a story broke in The Athletic, I think, here to give them more publicity, but one of the reporters said that an X-ray or a scan showed no ligament damage to Mason Mount's ankle, which is positive sounding. Apparently he's undergoing intensive training between now and Sunday. At least he has got that extra day of rest before the game against Liverpool, but no official word yet. We've got a press conference from Lampard tomorrow, so that should give us, hopefully, a definitive answer as to whether he's going to be available or not. But it does sound fairly positive, even if he doesn't make Game Week 6, and it maybe doesn't sound like it's going to be long term. So, very good. I think a lot of people have got money tied up in Mount as well, so they might be tempted. Yeah, if he doesn't make it, which we haven't heard yet, to keep hold of him, just to preserve the money tied up in him. But we'll probably keep you posted over the coming 24 hours and tell you hopefully for certain in tomorrow's team news video. But that is the latest anyway.
Okay, so urge people to watch and listen out for that tomorrow. But as it stands at the moment, it's looking like it's possibly out this weekend, and if so,
certainly a doubt.
It's likely he'll be back very soon. So that's annoying for FPL managers. But good news for Mason Mount. And I do hope he's back soon. I think I'll bench him for the meantime. But find out more tomorrow. Elsewhere with Chelsea though, they didn't do too well without him in the Champions League. But we also had a little bit of clarity about the penalty situation. It was, of course, Eden Hazard last season, and we've always been a bit unsure who it is. So can you enlighten us? Who takes penalties for Chelsea?
Well, Ross Barkley, evidently, but not very well. Yeah, I've had a lot of discussions with folk on Twitter about this over the past, since pre-season really. We saw Barkley take the most of them in pre-season. I think he took a couple with Jorginho on the pitch and with Abraham on the pitch. The complicating factor was that Willian wasn't involved in any of pre-season and was injured for the first week or two of the proper campaign. Now, Barkley stepped up amongst a throng of players. It was all four of the names I've just mentioned crowding around the round. Willian, Jorginho and Abraham. Willian, I wrote in the scout notes, looked the most miffed, I would suggest.
Yes.
I would suggest he was he's up there in the pecking order. But afterwards, Lampard said that Ross Barkley is on penalties when he's on the pitch. Then he is on penalties. Whether that is just trying to be diplomatic, say the right thing, trying to avoid any talk like we've got at Manchester United about ill discipline or a lack of coherent penalty taking policy. But he said that when the game started off, it was Willian and Jorginho were the penalty takers, but Ross was once he came on. So that to me sounds like Barkley number one, Willian and Jorginho tussling for deputy penalty taker, which is still an important spot as we've seen with Salah at Liverpool, because Barkley isn't a regular starter, not really at Chelsea, not when everyone's fit. And then maybe Abraham fourth beyond that. That's
Okay.
what those comments seem to imply. So if you're hoping for more goals from Abraham from that source, then it doesn't sound too
That
good. But
could be particularly important if, as we think, Mason Mount is out this weekend. Of course, Ross Barkley is in
yeah,
effect his deputy at the moment,
yeah,
so he would come in. I must admit, I didn't like to see that penalty situation. Willian and a few other players were crowding around him. It was the kind of move that other players would do when they're trying to put off an opponent. And they were sort of doing the job for the opponents. And indeed, Barkley did miss. I don't know whether he would have missed anyway, but it's not good. It didn't look good. It didn't look pretty. It made Barkley look a little bit isolated, I felt, in the team. And that is a situation I wonder if something's going on in the dressing room, and I didn't like to see that as well. So my immediate thought was, would I get Barkley in to replace Mount? Probably not. I didn't. I just didn't like the
no.
look of that. I like to see my teams together having a big old cuddle, but I don't like to see them arguing over who's going to take the penalty.
I think plus as well with Barkley, you'd think on paper that he'd come in for Mount, but on Tuesday night, as it was against Valencia, it was Pedro who came on
Okay.
for Mount when he got injured. So they were playing this 3-4-2-1. We'll discuss it again tomorrow in
Yeah.
fuller detail. But yeah, it was Pedro who came on for Mount and played
Okay.
with Willian behind Abraham.
So Barkley might not even be on the pitch, so it might be
Yeah,
we might not see it again. Might be Willian grabbing the ball and no one objecting. Well, apart from
argued with
Jorginho,
Jorginho. Yeah,
and then it all starts again. Man City is a team that isn't in turmoil at all. That won't get beaten by Norwich, but they look a bit more settled now in Europe. They won in the Champions League. They kept a clean sheet as well. What of their lineup, and what do you think it tells us about what's going to happen this weekend in the Premier League?
yeah. What was all the fuss about? They're back to normal again. Yeah, these are something that's quite good, these games, because they often give a pointer as to what the lineup's going to be in the following game week. Now, we saw, for example, last night Aguero was benched, didn't get on the pitch. David Silva didn't get on the pitch. Bernardo Silva only got on for 30 minutes. And yeah, that's pretty much it of the regulars. So you could be fairly confident that they would start. De Bruyne, for example, was taken off after 77 minutes, maybe with one eye on the weekend. He had his rest against Norwich, so again, you'd be fairly confident in him starting. I think the problem is Sterling. So we're not entirely sure what to make of it, because he's started every game for club and country going back to the Community Shield, which was the beginning of August. So that's, what is that, 9 games, something like that.
And
In a
lasting
row.
the distance as well.
Yeah,
Staying
exactly.
on the full 90
Barely any
minutes.
substitutions in that. I think possibly one for England, and that was it. Certainly for Man City, he's pretty much played everything. Now, I was talking to somebody on Twitter last night, saying the saving grace could be two things: the Norwich result, which left City 5 points adrift. Can they afford to slip up anymore? And the fact that they've got Preston in the Carabao Cup next week. So is Sterling going to be given a 10-day breather between now and Everton and game week 7? It's tough to say, isn't it? He could do. I don't imagine he'll play against Preston, but yeah, it's. I'm an owner and I'm a possible captainer, and
Yeah.
I am a little bit worried.
I'm worried, but as you
Yeah,
say, there's a cup game in midweek, easy rest for
yeah,
him then, and then he can go. But, would he get that 10 days rest? Does he need that rest, or would Pep
yeah.
push him for this? But then, what condition is he going to be in as well? Will he be less prone to coming inside off the wing and to those nice goal scoring positions that us captainers want him to be in? It's a tricky one. I must admit, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm going to listen out. We're gonna talk about the Man City press conference tomorrow, or see if there's
Yeah.
any more details at least. But I think if I was an Aguero owner, I'd captain him and I would rest easy. I'm not. I'm a Sterling
Yeah.
owner. I'm not going to rest
Yeah.
easy. So well, let's
Yeah, looks good for Aguero.
yeah, it looks good for Aguero. I think it looks good for KDB. He's had that
Yeah.
rest. Maybe he could be the good captain there. Let's move over to Spurs. Didn't look convincing at all
No.
in the Champions League against Olympiacos. They're proving a frustrating team. What, if anything, did we learn from their midweek toils? But crucially, I guess their team lineup as well, and how they may shape up against Leicester this weekend.
Yeah, again, further point as possibly as to what the team will be this weekend. So Son and Lamella, who both started on Saturday against Palace, they were benched for this, came on late in the game. So again, logic would suggest that those two players would start at the weekend against Leicester. Walker Peters was back on the bench as well, and if people still have him, maybe just me. But yeah, I think otherwise it was fairly full strength. So Kane started, Eriksen started. They both played 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Vertonghen and Alderweireld. Now, Serge Aurier was rested for this. That's the other thing I should mention. That he wasn't even on the flight over to Greece. So whether he's been preserved for another start in game week 6, that remains to be seen. In terms of injuries, actually, they're the only one of the big 6 who had their press conference so far on today.
Yeah.
And they've only reported 2 injuries, which was the ones we knew about, really, Lo Celso and Sessegnon. Everyone else seems fine. Pochettino hasn't really said much in his press conference about selection other than leaping to the defence of Eriksen after another fairly dismal performance. And saying that Ali needs time to get back to his best. So I think it'll be a tall order for him to start again after he got 73 minutes against Olympiacos. So he's probably one of the ones that's going to make way. But yeah, again, if you own Son or thinking of owning him, I would feel very confident about him starting at Leicester.
Yeah, it does look good there, and I think I read it from your own words as well in one of the articles on Fantasy Football Scout that Son was actually further ahead than Kane. Kane was moving back.
Yeah.
That was being noted in their last Premier League game. So if Son is the more effective striker than Kane, which is something I perhaps wouldn't have said a year or two ago, but I'm saying now, and he's in midfield, and he's 2 or 3 million cheaper, well, yeah, I think if I was wildcarding now, I did wildcard last week, but if I was wildcarding this week, Son would be a serious contender if I didn't fancy KDB in particular, and I think Son is good. Kane, once again, perhaps off the radar for the moment. Who knows? Who knows when he'll come back? Liverpool played in the Champions League. Also failed to impress. Was there anything we learnt there, really? Any injuries, lineup news, anything like that?
I don't think so, really. I think it was a fairly full-strength team. It was the same back four again that we've become accustomed to. So Robertson was a doubt for this game with a knock, recovered, played the full game. So I don't think there's anything really to take from this. The front three all played 90 minutes. But they have got, not only did they play on Tuesday, they're not playing until Sunday. So they'll have 5 days rest, whereas City and Spurs have only had 3. So and they're playing Chelsea as well. So I don't think there'll be any shocks for the team is on Sunday. Maybe Gomez, who knows? But I fully expect Salah, Firmino, and Mane to start yet again. Wait, Chelsea.
Okay, we have to wait a day to get into the meat of some really big club press conferences. So we'll get some firm details there of some of the clubs we've already mentioned as well, and we'll learn a bit more about Manchester United and the such like. But any press conferences today, and I know during this you're probably going to say the word embargo and Watford, but in relation to Watford, so we'll come to that in a bit. Let's start with a nice one though. We're all big fans of John Lundstram, the superhero budget defender who's actually a midfielder and never played in defence for Sheffield United. There always seems to be something nice to say about him every week. So yeah, what's his boss been saying about him this week?
I should run classes on how to grow your Twitter account. All you need to do is write a positive status about John Lundstram and you'll get hundreds of likes.
Yes.
So again, thin on the ground with injury news in Wilder's press conference. They'll be without Billy Sharp and Mo Besic. But yeah, Lundstram, he was asked about him because he's going back to Everton. That's where he started his career. He's a Scouser. And he said he's been one of the most outstanding performers of the season so far. So words, music to ears, isn't it, really? I mean, many people will be playing him this weekend because it's away at Everton. Not that they're potent in attack, but it's always nice to hear that he's held in high esteem by his manager for easier fixtures to come, hopefully.
Yes.
I've just been writing a team news actually for Sheffield United. I think apart from their front two, the 8 of the 9 players behind that strike pairing have started every game this season. So while they likes, he said this himself, he likes a settled defence and midfield, I think especially defence. So the only change he's made in midfield so far has been enforced with Fleck being injured. So he's he's had a settled side, and within that, of course, is Lundstram playing out of position, and long may it continue.
Yes, he's on my bench this week, but in the absence of Mason Mount, the likely absence of Mason Mount, which we'll know more on tomorrow, I'm quite happy for him to play. If you look back on Lundstram's career, this is turning into Lundstram Watch Plus, but he started his career at Everton, who he plays, and there is a tradition of teams, of players that leave a team to then try and make a point. He was sent out for most of his career. He's been out on loan and hasn't really settled until now and getting a regular run in the team. So long may that continue. He's earned it, and he's also represented England at many under 21 levels there. So I mean under 21, if you know what I mean. Let's move on to some other press conferences. Bournemouth, we had some update there. More of the kind of cheap seats really. So what's Howe been saying?
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have done a press conference video today if it hadn't been a Friday deadline. But so Howe has said Bournemouth are pretty much as they were last week. Mm-hmm. However, they welcome back 2 of the medium to long term injuries against Basingstoke in midweek. So this was a Hampshire Cup or something like that. The 23s mostly featured, but yeah, they both got an hour in. He didn't really expand on anything in the broadcast section, but I've seen Solent Sport report that Francis is probably more in line for the Carabao Cup next week. I mean, he's been out to December of last year, so that's a big ask. Hello, Lewis Cooker chipped in last weekend, and Kelly, who's not been out as long. With his ankle injury, he's got more of a chance tomorrow against Southampton. Now, Kelly is not someone people really know about that much, but he's significant because he's a left back and same position that Diego Rico plays, who is one of the diminishing $4 million options in FPL who played this season. He started last week against Everton, played reasonably well, assisted Wilson's goal, assisted the assister for Wilson's other goal. So whether he's done enough to persuade Howe that he's worth a run of the team remains to be seen. I know Howe hasn't really been convinced in the past, but yeah, Kelly coming back is competition that if you're a Rico owner, you don't really want. But whether he's fit enough to start tomorrow, it's open to debate really. But yeah, medium term, not looking good for Rico.
Okay, and any other press conferences of note today, or saving it to tomorrow?
There's been 1 or 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Burnley's, I'll just whiz them through. Goodmanson is back to fitness, but Dyche is going to make a late decision on him because he hasn't trained much this week. So Dyche in the past hasn't really taken chances on players, so I wouldn't be hugely surprised to see him not make it.
Okay.
Potter says pretty much as you were. Trossard still unavailable. Martin Montoya, who's one of the wing backs in that system, is recovered from illness, so he should be back.
Okay.
Southampton are also playing tomorrow night. Hassan Huttle says that Nathan Redmond is possibly back. He's been training this week. He's going to make a late decision on his involvement, but as soon as he's getting one player back, he's lost another one. So Musa Djenepo, who I sort of had a half eye on.
Yeah.
Not for now, definitely for medium term, because Southampton's fixtures are terrible. He's barely featured this season because of injury. But he's already scored 2 goals, scored a cracker last weekend against Sheffield United, very cheaply priced. But he's out again. He's got a recurrence of this muscle injury what he's had. So Hassan Huttle said he's not going to take any risks on him, and he won't feature game week 6. So he is out. Apart from that, Leicester's just had theirs. Rodgers, I think he said Chilwell trained indoors today, but he's going to be fine for the weekend. I'll read up more on that and see what these exact quotes are, because sometimes when they're transcribed, it's not exactly what they say, but sounds like a clean bill of health for Leicester as well. Okay. I think that might be it.
Yeah, because I know they lost to Manchester United last time out, but overall, I think Leicester fans have reason to be optimistic. There's been some good displays, and their key players have turned it on, and they're against Spurs, and it's a mixed bag there. They've had some great performances this season so far from the likes of Son, and Kane is still not firing for them. I'm presuming Watford press conference has happened, but for some reason they've embargoed it.
Yep, the E word, embargoed. It's going to be 5 p.m. again. At least it's a Thursday this time, so we'll get to process it before the FPL deadline tomorrow night. So hopefully there'll be more in the way of injury news this week, because last week was obviously dominated by Sanchez Flores' appointment.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll keep you posted on the site around about 5 o'clock.
I think, and in future videos, it'd be good to find out exactly why they are embargoing their news, like who it is, who's, anyway.
I'll ask David if he can send me down to Vicarage Road for the press conference.
Yeah.
I'll ask a question.
They'll ask lots of football questions, and you'll be there just like haranguing the Watford board about their embargo decisions. But that's fair enough. That's
going full Paxman on him, yeah.
That's what we're here for. That's great. Thanks a lot for that, Neale. I just want to remind people, obviously, look and listen out for part 2 of our team news tomorrow. This is Friday. There is an FPL deadline because in the evening Southampton are playing Bournemouth. It's also worth noting, always do, that usually in a lot of these videos we have reams of stats to reel out as well, but there's loads of articles as well and loads of exclusive material for those who are members. Lots of really useful tools and the way we use Opta stats there. So do have a look at that. If you're not a member, have a look. Sign up, and if you are a member, go in, have a look at the stats. But for now, Neale, thanks a lot for your time. Goodbye.
Yep, see you tomorrow, Joe. Bye bye.